All right. Hoping people are out there. Is anybody, can you guys see the count on the screen if people are joining? Okay.
Like we're up to 23 people.
That's exciting. Welcome, everybody. We're going to give everybody a few minutes to join us here. You are at the right place if you're here to learn about publishing with Sage and business and management with Sage folks, as well as folks from the PhD project. So if everybody can just wait a couple minutes, we want to make sure that we have everyone included before we start. As you guys can see, I want to make sure that I have my slides down here. There is a Q&A function. So if people want to post where they're dialing in from, that would be really interesting for us to see. Curious to see where we're all from. I don't know if you guys can see me with the screen, but I am in the Washington, D.C. office, the Sage's Washington, D.C. office. So that's what you see in the background. And we have editors calling in from around the U.S. and from London. How's our count looking out there, Rebecca?
Looks like we're up to 37.
Okay. Let's give it a couple more minutes. And just a little bit of housekeeping. We are recording this and it will be available to the participants. We will send it out so you can see our slides. Give it a few more minutes. And I will tell you more about the agenda as we get rolling, but we do have that Q&A function. So in addition to telling us where you're at, if you have questions as we go along, we'd love to hear them. And we have a dedicated time at the end of all our presentations when we can chat. So we're hoping this will be an informal discussion. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your questions. So we will get through our slides and our presentations as quickly as we can so we can hear from you guys. All right. How about we wait one more minute? Sound good? All righty. Okay, I think we should kick it off here. So we are going to kick things off by having Marie Zara from the PhD project start off. So Marie, you want to chat?
Thank you, Maureen. Yes, absolutely. So welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Marie Zara. I'm the Director of Advancement for the PhD project. I think many of you are members of the project, so I hopefully know many of you, if not all. I'm so thrilled to be here today with my friends from Sage Publications. Since July 2021, Sage has been just an amazing PhD project partner. I think you may have already met some of today's presenters at our summer conferences. They also help us tremendously with the Providence Case Writing Workshop, host a lovely dinner for us every year, and they're a big part of that workshop. And then also they help us by hosting dinners at the AACSB conferences. So hopefully you've met some of these folks already. They have not only been very engaged over these years, but they've demonstrated a really true commitment to increasing diverse perspectives in all of their academic publications and offerings. And that's why we're here. So for anyone who happens to be joining us today who's not familiar with the PhD project, I'm going to share just a couple of bullet points of background. One is that we were initiated 30 years ago. This year is our 30th anniversary. So we will be having some celebrations this year. We started in 1994. Since that time, we've sextupled the number of, yes, that's a word, underrepresented business professors across all of the business and related disciplines. We just announced our Dr. SACE this year. And then our mission is really to increase workforce diversity. It's not necessarily about the professors, although you are definitely a means to an end. And we go about this by increasing the business school faculty. We focus specifically on those most underrepresented in academia, which are Black African Americans, Latinx Hispanic Americans, and Native Americans. And then each year we host an annual conference in Chicago that's taking place next month at the end of March for those who are considering doctoral studies. Please, if you know of anyone who's interested in attending, they can still apply. We extended the deadline until February 10th. So if you go to our website, which is www.phdproject.org, there is a link to the application and you can still send potential students there. We also have 5 discipline-specific conferences covering accounting, finance and economics, information systems and sciences, management, and marketing. And we do receive funding from organizations such as SAGE, corporations, foundations, academic associations, and over 300 universities. So if anyone's interested in, know of anyone who'd want to get involved, please feel free to reach out to me directly. I can share my information with everyone after the fact. Thank you all for taking the time to learn more about SAGE and the full breadth of their publications and products. And thank you so much to SAGE for providing this wonderful opportunity. I'm going to turn it back over to Maureen to get kicked off.
Excellent. Thanks, Marie, and welcome everyone. And we appreciate you taking time out of your day to share this time with us. It's been really great partnering with the PhD project for the last couple of years, and we hope to have a lot more collaborations come in the coming years. So I just wanted to give a quick agenda here, what we're doing. We have several editors across SAGE's publishing program presenting today, and throughout, some of them may posit some questions to the group, and you can respond to that in the Q&A section, just to have a little interactivity and hear a little bit more about what you're interested in. And again, we also have a general Q&A session at the end of our slides, and at that point, we can open it up and chat more. And I just wanted to pop up this slide because it's one of our favorite slides here at SAGE. For those of you who aren't as familiar with SAGE, this is our founder, Sarah Miller-McCune. SAGE is a global academic publisher of books, journals, and library resources. And 24-year-old Sarah Miller-McCune, shown in that picture today, she founded SAGE in 1965. And what is interesting and unique about SAGE is that now we are controlled by a group of trustees charged with maintaining our independence and mission indefinitely, which, as many of you may know, makes us quite unique among the big academic publishers. We are very much looking forward to our 60th anniversary celebration next year in 2025. So that's just a quick little look at SAGE, and you'll hear more about us as we go on to our editors. And I want to introduce Isabella Austin, who's going to talk to you about our journals program.
Thank you, Maureen. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Isabella Austin. I'm a publishing editor at SAGE, and I work with a lot of our business and management journals, and I'm really, really excited to be here. Thank you all for joining us. So I'll be briefly going over the publication process and then diving into more opportunities for authorship within the journal space. So as Maureen mentioned, I'd like to first pose a question, which is also on the screen, and you can type your answers in the chat. If you're planning on submitting your research to a journal, what would be the most important factor to you when choosing a journal? And I'll talk more about this in a bit as well. So to start, I wanted to give an overview of the publication process. This chart illustrates the typical author journey moving from the early stages of securing funding and conducting research all the way through to peer review and publication. For those of you who haven't started your first or next research project yet, we suggest you ask yourself a few questions that will help you write and ultimately determine where you submit your manuscript, such as who's going to be interested? How does your research build on what we already know? Is your work novel and innovative? Does it fill a gap or provide an extension of a theory? And what will it contribute to the field? So if you want to go more in depth on every step of this process, I highly recommend visiting our SAGE Author Gateway, which is linked on the screen, and watching our free How to Do Research and Get Published video series. So once your manuscript is written, it's time to figure out what journal to submit to. So SAGE is a leading publisher of business and management journals that cover the gambit of research in this field, from behavioral science to entrepreneurship, research methods, sustainability, education, employment relations, marketing, and so much more. Our highly ranked journals accept research from around the globe and reach a wide audience. So what you see on the screen is not even close to all of the journals we publish in business and management. If you want to explore a selection of articles from across our portfolio, I'd again recommend visiting our Business and Management Discipline Hub, which is also linked on this screen. And here you'll find recently published special issues, even more of our business and management journals, highly downloaded papers, and other related content. So as you're exploring journals to submit to, we ask that you think about the best home for your paper. We would recommend looking at what type of papers each journal publishes. For example, in addition to full-length research articles, some might accept book reviews, while others also have commentary series with short-form content. You should also review the aims and scope page, see who the editor is, and look at the acceptance rate of the journal, the peer review policy, first decision turnaround time, and if it's a subscription-based or open access journal. It's also important to spend some time reading the manuscript submission guidelines for the particular journal you're thinking about submitting to and following them. We can't emphasize enough how much editors appreciate the work you put in. Write for that journal's particular audience. Again, read the aims and scope page and tailor your manuscript accordingly. Make sure to include funding, any conflicts of interest, ethics statements, even if you have nothing to declare. And when you're in doubt, if you're ever in doubt, just be transparent. You can also reach out to the journal's editorial office for advice if your manuscript might be a good fit. Contact details are typically on the submission guidelines page. So some common reasons editors might reject your manuscript include not thoroughly reviewing the submission guidelines, incorrect formatting of tables and figures, the topic not quite being an appropriate fit for the journal, or sending in the wrong manuscript type. Many journals also have calls for papers for special issues, so it might be worthwhile to check if your particular manuscript might be a good fit for a special issue. Special issue papers typically garner more downloads and citations because they're timely and feature important new research on a specific social, cultural, and/or global issue. Just as a few examples, a recent special issue in Business and Society focused on contributions of business to refugee crises. Journal of Marketing published an issue on marketing in the healthcare sector, and Australian Journal of Management's February issue centers around anti-racism as an organizing principle. Sage also offers a service, what we call SagePath, that can help you if you're unsure where to submit your manuscript. SagePath accepts direct submissions if you need help finding journal options. Additionally, if your research is deemed out of scope for a particular title you submitted to, the editor can request that it be reviewed and matched with a more appropriate publication through this service. So if your article gets accepted to and published in one of our journals, the process doesn't end there. There are a multitude of ways to promote your research, including posting to social media, sharing your article with colleagues, and working with your institution to issue a press release. We also have our Sage Perspectives blog where you can write a shorter summary of your research and highlight the main findings. Or if your paper is particularly topical and would be of interest to a non-academic audience, we can work with you to pitch to the conversation. And Matt Waters will go into more details on this later. Additional promotion of your research to the wider public can help you enrich the public discourse and offer solutions to big problems. Writing other articles for news outlets or being interviewed will help you raise your profile and ultimately expand your network. And this helps bring academics to the forefront in working through scientific and cultural debates. So no matter what stage of the process you're at, whether you're trying to secure funding, are unsure of how to format your manuscript, or if you're looking for ways to reach a new audience with your findings, Sage has plenty of resources and options for you, and we're here to help. Thank you. And now I'll hand it over to Rebecca Frankel to talk about Sage Learning Resources.
Thank you so much, Isabella. So hi, everyone. My name is Rebecca. I'm based in Washington, D.C. And for the past 6 years or so, I have had the enormous pleasure of working as an acquisitions editor on our learning resources team at Sage. And I'd like to kick off with the question, what is an organization that you find interesting? You can put your answer in that Q&A. And once it's in there, I'll tell you, you've already got the seed for your first learning resources publication. Or for some of you who've already published with us, maybe your second, third, fourth, and so on. So we can head to the next slide. What is learning resources? So learning resources are one of 3 types of resources that Sage publishes. We've just heard from Isabella in journals, and after me, you're going to hear from Lily, who oversees publication of textbooks. And the learning resources are right in between journals and textbooks, and not just for the purposes of this webinar. So they're intended to be useful to both students and faculty, and they can be used in the classroom or for research. They're available through the academic library. This is fun because it means that students and faculty don't have to pay directly for access. Instead, once a library subscribes to or purchases a collection, that resource is going to be freely available to all on campus, as well as authenticated alumni. So you'll see on this slide a few different examples of Sage Learning resources. And given our limited time together today, I'm going to focus on one for which we are perpetually commissioning, and that's Sage Business Cases. So we can head to the next slide. What is Sage Business Cases? This is Sage's digital collection of over 6,000 case studies. The authors and audience for this collection are really diverse and span hundreds of countries across the globe. Acquisitions editors like myself are at work year-round commissioning new cases across all business and management disciplines for publication within the collection. Once a university's library subscribes to or purchases the collection, the cases are freely available to all on campus, though the teaching notes are only available to authenticated faculty. This library model allows students to save money, and the site allows for easy browsing, citing, downloads, and sharing. So on to the next slide. The link to the case collection is at the top of this slide if you'd like to take a look on your device. You'll see a number of different ways to browse, including my personal favorite, the Browse by Region tab, where you can filter to view cases by the country where a case is set. There are over 120 choices. So as you see, our content is global and our audience happens to be as well. So a range of institutions from small liberal arts colleges to large public universities are using the case collection. And these schools are in North America, Europe, Africa, South America, Asia, basically everywhere except Antarctica. And while we believe most of our readers are undergraduate or graduate business students, we aren't actually able to track usage at an individual level due to our respect for user privacy. So Sage publishes many kinds of cases, some long, some short, some real, some fictional. But what ties them all together, whether the topic relates to marketing or finance, whether the featured organization is a small nonprofit or a Fortune 500 company, is our editorial vision. And there are three main components of that vision I'd like to emphasize here. So first, we want cases that ask students to think critically and apply history and theory to real-world situations. Two, we want to fill known content gaps, hitting on emerging trends in undertreated areas. And three, we want to publish cases that ask readers to consider different cultural contexts and economic perspectives. So next slide. What does our publication process look like for an aspiring case author? So as you'll see, it's pretty rigorous, but also pretty straightforward. The first step once you've written your case is to create an account on our ScholarOne website, and the link to that is on this slide. You'll then submit your case, teaching notes, and title page complete with author bio. Once we've got that submission in, we're going to run everything through a quick plagiarism check, then send the submission through a double-blind peer review and a developmental edit. Then we're going to send you that combined feedback and ask you to revise and resubmit. And then after a round or two of those revisions, we're usually able to accept the case and issue a $400 honorarium to the lead author. The process is not over quite yet, because at that point we put the case through yet another edit, the copy edit and production. You then have the opportunity to review final proofs, and then the case is published in our annual release in January of each year. So this is, as we said, pretty rigorous, but also pretty straightforward. And there are lots of reasons to become a case author, from that double-blind peer review to the thorough developmental feedback, payment, and discoverability of the final work on Google Scholar. But I think the best reason to get involved is that this is a chance to help shape how we educate. And so I like to tell our authors, let's publish the kind of resources you wish you had had as a student. Between climate change and the return of 80s fashion, there are a lot of things that are getting progressively worse in the world. So it feels good to find ways to make something better. And your university's administration should be thrilled, as your publication in Sage Business Cases helps them achieve AACSB accreditation by fulfilling Standard 9 for societal impact. So next slide. I'd now like to take a moment here to give a shout out to some of our learning resources authors who are current or former PhD project members. We are really proud to have published the timely, thoughtful content you see highlighted here from Dr. Cruz, Dr. Queen, Dr. Burkhalter, and Dr. Bryant Reeder. I encourage everyone to check out these titles. We look forward to working with you, and next year maybe highlighting your stellar publications on one of these slides. And with that, I will pass the baton to my brilliant colleague, Lily.
Well, thank you, Rebecca. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. My name is Lily Norton. I am an acquisitions editor on the textbook side in Sage US College. We also have a textbook division in the UK. So what I'm talking about will be relevant to you. I know we've got some people outside of the United States. So you wouldn't be working with me, but we've got great colleagues across the world working in textbooks. And I'm based in Nashville, Tennessee, one of our remote workers. And we work with people across the United States and Canada. And I'm excited to tell you all about textbook publishing today. So next slide. Just wanted to briefly explain why I get so excited about textbook publishing. Here's a quote that I pulled, says, a book is a gift you can open again and again. And for me, working in textbooks is just an opportunity to be really impactful for students who may have never learned about what these books are covering. This is the first time that they're going to be understanding these core concepts, potentially a subject that they may major in college. And I just think that's just such a rare opportunity to have that impact. So I know a lot of people think, oh, they don't really think about authoring a textbook. It seems like such a daunting task, but really when you break it down, it isn't. If it's something that you're passionate about, you know, you have the opportunity to meet students where they are and really have an impactful opportunity just have that give a great experience to students in these classrooms. So that's why I get up and work on textbooks every day. Next slide. So first, I'm going to talk a little bit about the publishing process. So first, kind of deciding, okay, I want to write a textbook. But really, we look to develop unique books. You know, there's a lot of textbooks out there, a lot of different companies that are tackling these big courses, and we want to do something different. So really, you know, asking yourself, what is that thing? What are those gaps that other textbooks aren't doing in the market that, you know, we could really accomplish with a new resource. And so we would ask our author team to develop a table of contents, understanding what content coverage they need to be able to fit the learning objectives of these courses across the country that we see typically. In terms of timeline for the writing, we typically develop a first edition book over 2 to 3 years. It can vary, but we know that a lot of our authors are teaching, they have administrative duties. There's a lot of things that we do in the background other than writing when we're developing a book. So you get a lot of developmental support from us as you write. We have a full peer review process. Multiple chapters of our books are going out to professors that are teaching the courses. You're getting feedback. We're having group meetings to discuss, okay, what do we need to change? What do we need to think about to make this book really successful for this corner of the market of this course that we really want to serve? And you'll have multiple editors working with you on your book. We'll be doing a lot in the background with our digital resource plans, which I'll talk about in later slides. And as we're writing and changing the story of the book, we're also strategizing, how are we going to market this when it actually comes out? We do a lot of exciting things with our authors, like webinars, podcasts, thinking about what we can do at conferences. And really, what's that marketing message? How do we position ourselves when talking about, you know, Professor, I know you use X book. This is what this book does differently, and really honing in that elevator speech, as it were. And also when to publish is a strategic decision that we have to make. And so we have a large sales force across the country that goes out and connects with professors when our books come out, about 70 people. We'll be knocking on doors, calling people. We go to conferences. We do virtual marketing activities, and we like our authors to get really involved in those activities as well. Next slide. So I wanted to throw out a question to the group. see what percentage of students bought textbooks digitally from Sage in 2023. What do you think is the percentage of students that are buying books digitally as opposed to print? And I will say as a hint, it definitely escalated very quickly after COVID. If you want to put your answers in the Q&A section. And with that, I'm going to segue to talking about our digital resources. So we still do publish our books in print, but we have all of our books available as ebooks, and we also develop courseware. And so I'll give you all the answer. So last year, 64% of students bought textbooks digitally. So that really went up in 2020. It was almost half of that before that. So it's really escalated quite quickly. And a lot of instructors teaching these courses want more than just a digital version of the book, but they want, video, they want exercises, activities. So about 5 years ago, we've developed a platform called Vantage, and the link for that is at the bottom of this slide. It's vantage.sagepub.com. And it's our full courseware that can integrate with college learning management systems. And it's the entire digital textbook with integrated video, self-assessments, data activities, writing activities. We're building simulations. There's a lot of exciting things that are happening in the digital academic world. And so this is our answer to that, and we've had a lot of success with it so far. But the nice thing about being a textbook author is this is something that when you work with Sage takes care of. We take care of building and developing all of the instructor resources for our books, student resources, all these videos and platforms that really enhance the content and take it to the next level. Next slide. Just wanted to show. Oh, sorry, that was just another picture, but next slide. These are some of the screenshots of some of the videos that we developed. We do a lot of core concept animations, talk about concepts that are in the book that can benefit from being broken down in a visual way. And they're really fun and effective, and we know students love video. And if you click once more, we also do a lot of interview-based video programs going out. Actually, we have a video team at Sage that goes out, films things on location, and just really gives that real-world perspective, talking to entrepreneurs, business owners about really important issues. And so students really love these, and instructors love being able to assign them for a grade and getting students to react to them and sparking classroom conversation. Next slide. And so finally, I just wanted to quickly talk about, if you are sitting there and you're thinking, oh, maybe I would be interested in writing a textbook. Here's what makes for a successful book. So really it's having that strong differentiated approach. So what is the unique value proposition of the book that you want to write? How is the content, the framework different from the other books out there? And so you want to do a lot of research. That's usually the best place to start, is like, what else is out there? What has been written? And how will a book that you envision really help instructors and students teach this material? That's really what it's all about. Also, just having great author teams that are like flexible, wanting to work with us, just make these books really successful. We often do encourage co-authorship just because there's a lot of benefits of having, a breadth of expertise, kind of an internal sounding board when you're working on a project, and really just having people that are actively teaching the course and really in touch with those course trends and what students get excited about in the classroom, and then bringing that into the book. So really that a cutting edge point of view, and activities, engagement, that application piece is so big today. These students are going into these classes asking, what's in it for me? And so having these application exercises within the book that really bring the content to life, case studies, examples that are relevant and current, it's just really a great way to sell a book. And really just having a well-written book at the right time. And, sometimes you just strike lightning with it, and you're filling that needed gap that's in the market that people may not have been able to even figure out how to say it themselves. But once they see that product, they're like, wow, this is really what I needed, and I didn't even know that. So some of it is a little bit of a luck, but also being well written doesn't help or doesn't hurt. But yeah, so I hope this got you guys a little excited about potentially writing academic textbooks. I'm happy to answer any questions, but for now, I will turn it over to Matthew Waters.
Thank you, Lily. Hello, everyone. I'm Matthew Waters. I'm the Senior Publisher at Sage for Business and Management, and it's a real pleasure to be here today. I'm a big fan of the PhD project and all of the work that Marie and the team do. I thought I'd use this space just at the end of our presentation to say a little bit about how you could further disseminate your work, because as Isabella mentioned, having your work published by Sage or another publisher isn't the end of the dissemination process, and there's a lot more you can do post-publication. So I just wanted to give you a few ideas here before we finish up. So my question to throw out to the room is, how does or could your research contribute to societal impact and positive change? Please do pop your answers in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. I think one thing I would say here is that all research, I think, can contribute in some way to positive societal impact. So there's almost a kind of common misconception that societal impact only relates to certain topics as they relate to things like climate and sustainability or race and gender. And whilst those are absolutely key and central areas of the impact agenda, your research could also relate to things like, say, banking or supply chains or transportation or tourism or other areas of business and development. They can also produce positive change for communities and the many. So I think it's really important that when we're talking about societal impact, we're thinking about it in very broad terms. Next slide, please. So I think it's fair to say that societal impact is becoming a key marker of academic success in business schools. It's by no means a new topic. Sage actually published a book, you can just see there in the top right-hand side, Business Schools and Their Contribution to Society, way back in 2011. And that was edited by Mette Morsing, who is the recent outgoing head of PRIME, Principles of Responsible Management Education. So it's been a topic that we've been kind of talking about for a long time now, but I think a key change really, I would say, is in 2020 when AACSB added societal impact to their accreditation standards. I think from that moment on, we really saw it come to the fore. And so research now that tackles the UN SDGs and other grand challenges is being recognized and rewarded, such as the Organization Studies Student Paper Award for Societal Impact, which we've been running for a couple of years now. And we would welcome all applicants to that award when it runs again next year. So when we're thinking about societal impact today, it's about how you communicate your knowledge and expertise beyond academia, beyond your peers, beyond your classroom, and beyond the ivory towers, translating theory and research into actionable recommendations, be it for businesses, organizations, or for policymakers, and about reaching new audiences and providing layperson insights through engaging dissemination. And I think it's really important to say as well that societal impact doesn't necessarily mean magnitude. You can make a difference in a small way. It could be societal impact in terms of changing the way that just one business does what they do, or just one person, the way that they think about a topic, and it forces a practitioner to do something different in the way they work, or something that your research does that contributes to a bigger conversation that ultimately leads towards some kind of policy change. So it's not necessarily about a huge kind of piece of work that makes huge changes. It's about the small steps and the small things that you can do in contributing towards broader societal impact. And one platform that Sage have actually just started is the Sage Policy Profiles, which is powered by Overton. You see the logo at the bottom there, and that's not-for-profit platform that we've launched, and it's a way that researchers can actually track the way that their research is having impact in the real world through various metrics. So do have a look at that. Next slide, please. This is a recent white paper that we published, and I'd encourage you to go and check this out online, and we can share you the link after the webinar. So this was about societal impact in terms of how we measure it in academic research. And I think it's fair to say that the white paper goes into a lot of detail and the nitty-gritty, previous slide, thanks, around measuring metrics. But I think there's some broad points in the white paper that I wanted to pull out for you today, which is this key point. It was survey participants from the Academy of Management, and we found that over half of faculty said that they think research impact is either strongly or intensely important. Interestingly as well, they were pointing to the importance of publishing in formats other than journals, other than journal articles. So I think that's a positive. Obviously, journal articles is the way in which, you know, many academics will be judged ultimately, and as part of the kind of publish or perish model. But it's really important that we're looking towards other ways of publishing, other formats, and also interdisciplinarity as well. So I think that came through a lot in our white paper, which is the need for, you know, academics to break out of silos and to work across departments and even faculty within the university to work towards kind of broader research remits. And ultimately shifting mindsets from outputs to outcomes, by which the authors of the white paper were making the point that it's important that we are thinking about what our research actually achieves beyond being published in a top journal, for example. Next slide, please. So I think blogging and newsletters is just a really great way to disseminate your research and your work. I think somebody like Ethan Mollick, for example, he's an associate professor at Wharton, and I probably wouldn't be familiar with Ethan's work were it not for his Substack, which I'm an avid follower of, and it covers everything on AI in relation to business and culture, in terms of, and also research and education. He's my go-to person for all things AI, and I really depend on that Substack, and it's no surprise to see the impact that Ethan is having, you know, in the wider world in terms of being invited to speak for a lot of the, you know, the huge tech companies and so on. So that's definitely something to think about. And also LinkedIn newsletters as well. They can have extraordinary impact. So there's an example there. If you just look at somebody's LinkedIn jumping up nearly 200,000 subscribers in a few years, just through providing a regular newsletter with kind of tips and insights around a particular subject area. And there are so many blogs out there. I mean, you know, do go away and do some research, but a few that I like is that I'm based here in London. So there's the London School of Economics have a business review blog, which is read by practitioners and disseminates a lot of research done within the business faculty. So that's exactly the kind of thing we're talking about here. And we also have our own blog as well at Sage, Business and Management Inc., which you're very welcome to contribute to, and do get in touch if you'd like to write for that. Next slide, please. So yeah, have a think of journalism and social media as well as part of dissemination. So try and, if you can, connect with business journalists to offer insights and quotes. So I'm always really impressed by faculty that do this. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to connect with journalists at the most famous newspapers or the Bloombergs or Harvard Business Reviews and so on. That would be fantastic if you can manage that. But maybe to start with, you know, think local, think at the state level. Like, is there any local publications where you can get in touch with the relevant editor for the business and see if you can kind of contribute in any way to their publications, to their articles, to what they're putting out. And also another really fantastic outlet is The Conversation, which was mentioned briefly earlier. So that is essentially a news site, but it's all written by academics alongside journalists. And it's just a brilliant way to disseminate your expertise to a broader audience. And quite often those articles that appear in The Conversation are actually published in the likes of New York Times and The Guardian and so on. So they do find their way into the main big newspapers in the US and the UK and so on. Have a think about the ways you use social media as well. So I'm always really impressed by academics that take their followers on their research journey. So it's not about just showing everyone what you've done at the end of the process and saying, here's my research and provide the link, but actually taking you through on that research journey. I'm always really struck by that. And also think about how you use social media strategically. So how you maybe tag practitioners, or you use hashtags, and ways in which you can kind of use social media to really interact with the wider world, with be it policymakers or businesses and other organizations. And a book that Sage have published that could help you with this is Mark Harrigan's book, Social Media for Academics, that recently went into the second edition. So do check that book out. Next slide, please. Podcasting. So I think podcasting is a fantastic format. I was really struck by this stat that over half of business owners are daily podcast listeners. I think I can probably relate to that because I listen to a lot of podcasts myself. It's content on the go for all of us with our busy lives, whether it's when you're out running or washing the dishes, you can get the content that you need while you're on the go. So it's a really great format for today's busy world, and it's a different type of format as well in terms of the way in which it's conversational, it's intimate, so you can include aspects of storytelling. So there are so many podcasts obviously out there. Do go away and do some research. Again, maybe locally there are ones that you could be involved in, but I'm really struck by how many business schools are now releasing their own podcasts, and these are just a few here that I put on this slide for you to have a look at. Next slide. And panels and webinars such as this one. So these are fantastic forums for meeting and networking with attendees from around the world, as we've seen in the Q&A from where you are all based. And it enables you to show the relevance of your research, to show insights and on-screen sharing. One great example, I think, is Heidi Neck, who is the author of our entrepreneurship textbook. I think she does a really great job in a webinar of bringing that book alive through her presentations, which are, really get to the heart of the ideas in that book. And they're also a way of co-creating as well. So through Q&A functionality, you can really invite audience contributions and maybe further your research and your findings and find new ways to go with whatever it is you're working on. So I think they can be really useful in that regard as well. So that, I think, brings us to the end of the presentation. So we'd be really interested in hearing from you with any questions or thoughts and comments. Thanks very much.
All right, thanks to everybody. And I am going to stop sharing because I like to see humans, and I was lost in the slide world for a while. So good to see faces again. So we'd love to hear from folks if they put some questions up. I heard from a couple people that the Q&A, they were unable to access that. I'm sorry about that. So if you do have any questions, we can put an email up in the Q&A. You can always send that to us. So let's take a look. So it was interesting to see a couple people did say where they were calling in from Lisbon in Portugal. Oh, two people from Portugal, actually. Felipe from Coimbra. I probably butchered that. Can one of you guys say that better than me? We have a bunch of people from Portugal. And the chat is open because it's saying it's disabled. Sorry about that. And there's a question from the Black Alliance of Colleges and Employees, and we can get back to you on that. Another person from Portugal. I'm just welcome. That's exciting. Do you guys see any questions that you want to respond to? Surely somebody has something to say about Rebecca's statement about 80s fashion coming back. Someone's got to push her back on that one. No? Nobody? All right.
Marina, I have a question. Are we going
okay.
to send everybody our email addresses in case they want to get in contact with
Yes,
us?
so I
Okay.
believe with Zoom, we can follow up with everybody and we can actually send it to everybody who registered, even if they didn't show up. So they can get a recording of this in case they have a lot of free time on their hands. And then within that email, we'll send out all of our contact information. And so if you want to contact specific editors, Marie Zara from PhD Project had to log off, but we will supply her email as well if you're interested in getting in touch with her and finding out more about the PhD project. But if we don't have any more active questions, I believe we can sign off. What do you guys think? Sound
Thanks,
good?
everyone.
Thank you very much for attending.
you.
Thank you, Portugal. You guys really showed up for us. We appreciate that. Okay. Bye from
Thanks, everyone.
Sage. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.